Ilasha, you last week were on a panel in Melbourne. So what was that about? What happened there?
Yeah, so we had a group of students come into the office, which was really nice. Haven't done one of those panels in so long, so definitely take the opportunity to go to the in-person events that we're hosting around Australia and New Zealand as well, Michelle, or is it just Australia?
New Zealand as well, although we have not held a meetup in person in New Zealand yet.
Right.
But I have spoken to one of my teammates in the Wellington office,
Mm-hmm.
and he says he would be happy to host events there.
Okay,
So
that's
we
great.
will be doing some in New Zealand in the future.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, well, the session was really good. Had lots of questions from the students post. So definitely, my advice to all of you on the call would be to connect with each of us and also anyone else that you meet at Microsoft. And then once you're ready to take that next step of your career, be sure to reach out because I'm sure everyone is very willing to help. But I just wanted to mention one thing on the certifications that Michelle presented. If you weren't aware, most, if not all, Microsoft employees also sit through that process, and we also go through the learning paths and certifications. And in my job, as a technology strategist, I found that those certifications are super helpful. The AI 900 one is getting a big update, I think in May. So I'm studying for that at the moment. But yeah, it's just really exciting. I never thought I'd enjoy studying again, but they make it really fun and they make it really practical. So I would highly encourage those certifications, especially if they're free, thanks to Michelle.
The AI 900 learning path already has the OpenAI, ChatGPT,
Awesome.
DALL-E, all of that stuff is already in that learning path. The exam, as you say, is not yet updated with that, with questions around that, but the content is already there. So you can already start knowing about stuff. And I think that particular topic would be super handy to talk about at interviews because everyone's heard of it, but no one really knows very much about it. And the detail that it gives you in that learning path is not so much it would blow your mind, but it would be more than most people know. And you'd be able to talk about it at interviews and look pretty impressive, I think.
That's true. And I also think with all the advancements at the moment, it's so easy to get, I guess, overwhelmed by everything that's out there. And what the learning paths do is it really guides you in a systematic way through what those updates are and what you need to know. So yeah, that's what I found to be super helpful with the other certs that I've done.
Nick Nat, any thoughts on certs? What have you done recently?
Yeah, I think for me, certs is the best way to learn something new, especially someone like me who came from an engineering background and didn't have much knowledge within the cloud space. Personally, right now, I'm planning to sit on the PL 100 exam just because the trend we're seeing is within the education sector is to go on the low code, no code strategy. And I think another thing to add on, aside from the certifications we have available, is the 30 Days of Azure AI that we have for this month. So if you're interested in learning about OpenAI, and the other data and AI services that we have available, we actually have this 30-day challenge, I would say, to get you up and running on Azure. And with the link that Michelle shared earlier for Azure for Students, that will give you a certain amount of credits on Azure, so you can play around with different Azure services as well.
There's a lot of the AI services that are free as well. I always tell people I built like a few static web apps, which use cognitive services from Custom Vision, and it cost me like $6 a month for like all of the ones that I have up there, which is a few because I'm lazy and I don't do, as I tell the students to do, delete everything after you have built something. Delete everything, shut it all down so it doesn't cost any money. Yes, you have to create it again next time you want to use it, but the more you create it, the easier it becomes, and you learn how to do stuff more quickly if you have to do it more than once. So definitely delete everything. Don't be like Michelle. Okay, well, maybe the two of you want to introduce yourselves and say where you have come from before you came to Microsoft and how you got there. And then we'll do that as the first question. So, Ilasha, want to go first?
Sure. Okay. Hey everyone, I'm Ilasha. I'm currently an account technology strategist at Microsoft. Basically, what that means is I get to work with 7 businesses in Australia, and some are global as well. And I get to partner with them on what their tech strategy looks like, and any business problems that they want to solve, we work with them using Microsoft technologies to solve them. So it's a really cool role. But how I got here, I'm originally from Sydney. I went to UNSW and I studied information systems. And then I actually applied to the Microsoft Protege program, which is available to, I think, university, TAFE, and any higher ed organizations. It's basically a case comp or a business competition where you can apply with by yourself, or I think it's up to groups of 1 to 4, and you just solve a business problem using Microsoft technology, and then you get a chance to pitch it back. So it's kind of like a hackathon. I did that in my final year of university, my penultimate year of university, and that was really awesome. We went on to win, which is very cool, won some cool prizes. And then from there, I had a chance to speak to the recruiters and all that, and went on to apply for the internship, which is a year-long arrangement with Microsoft. And that was while I was studying in my final year. And then from there, I had a look at all the roles that were available to graduate students, got to test the waters a bit, shadow people, get mentored by people. And then I chose this role that I'm currently in and moved down to Melbourne with Microsoft. And haven't looked back since. I'm loving it. It's 2022, so I'm on maybe my 4th year at Microsoft now. And yeah, it's great. Learning new stuff every day, get to work with awesome people. Can't recommend it more. So that's me. Nick, Nat, over to you.
Thanks, Ilasha. And I personally agree to that testament. I actually came from the Philippines and migrated in Australia back in 2017. So I originally studied civil engineering and moved here to pursue mechanical engineering. So I'm a bit on that unconventional side. So hello, everyone. My name is Nicole Nathley, but you can call me Nick Nat for short. I am a Filipina and now currently living in Australia for the last 5 years. As I mentioned, I came from a civil engineering to a mechatronic engineering background, and I started off my career in an engineering company. So I did my internship in a battery engineering company. Personally, tested out what the environment and culture was like, and then I realized it's not for me. So then I took a step back and thought to myself, well, what are the other companies out there that actually values their employees quite well and will give me a lot of room for growth? So with that in mind, I applied for the Microsoft retail store just to give me some time to really think about what my next, step would be like. Within the Microsoft retail store, I got the opportunity to learn a lot about the Surface products that we have. And during that time, we were given the opportunity to tap into the unlimited resources we get as a Microsoft employee, including the ability to sit in Microsoft certifications. So I pursued certifications that were aligned to my role at the time. But eventually, I started to look at things around cloud because, as you all know, when you start hearing buzzwords from your peers, you start being curious about it. So I heard so much about AWS and Azure, but because I was working for Microsoft, I was like, let's give it a shot. Let's go through the learning path. And when I completed the learning path, I felt like reading the documentation wasn't enough. So I then went on to testing out Azure and sign up for the free trial that we get. Like, I think you can get a free sign up and get $200 credit. So I tested it out, made the same mistake as Michelle and I forgot to delete my resources. And because it was a free license, it was a free license, right? Essentially you'll get locked out in a way that you won't be able to see the resources that you spun up because you've reached your budget. But that experience led me to test my knowledge after going through that documentation and hands-on experience. When I got the AZ900 fundamentals, I didn't stop and I just went on doing more and more certifications. And I know it's unconventional because usually people would recommend you to focus on one particular stream, whether that's data and AI, app dev, or infrastructure. But for me, I was a bit of a curious critter. I was always wanting to learn more. So I went through the Azure Data and AI Fundamentals, 2 separate exams. And then I went on learning about security as well. And little did I know that by doing those certifications, when an opportunity came out for the Microsoft graduate program, I applied just randomly. I'm like, you know what? Let's go ahead and do it. And little did I know during my interview process that it was those certifications that helped me land my role. So it became a differentiator for me, even though I was competing with other students that have 2 double degrees coming from much more well-known universities like UNSW and UCID. And that made me feel really good about myself because, and as an international student, it was always a challenge for us to land a role within Australia. Even if we do find something, it was on a limited time frame. So ever since I came to Microsoft, which is about 3 years and 3 months now, I've never looked back as well, like Ilasha. And I found so many good peers, so many good mentors and coaches. And I think that's what's important. As long as you keep your eyes on your goals and you surround yourself with people that have similar goals as yourself, you'll always be able to achieve anything. And that's it. Thanks, Michelle.
Well, that reminds me of a game I used to play when I joined Microsoft, and I suppose I still play it today sometimes, which was called Top 5 Microsofties. And what it was is whenever I met a new person, I would ask them who were their top 5 Microsofties. I did this because I was new and I wanted to, find who are the people I should talk to, who are the people that are really inspiring, who are going to help me progress my career in this massive company. And I would ask people who were their top 5, and they would look at me like, oh, what do you mean? And sometimes I would say, well, if it was the end of the world and you had to run into the bomb shelter with 5 people and everyone else was going to die, which are the 5 you would pick? And it was interesting because, people have different reasoning about that. They might pick who are the people they like the most, that they think they can endure being in an enclosed space with. They might be people that they find the most interesting. They might be people that they think will be the most useful, like who's got skills for an apocalypse situation. But they would tell me the 5 people and they would explain to me why those people were really great, friends or mentors or coaches or leaders or, well, Microsofties. And then I would be able to go to each of those 5 people and introduce myself, and I would ask them the same question as well. And so I expanded my network exponentially with just people who had been identified as cool, which was very good. So I thought, while we're here, maybe each of you, who is your favorite Microsoftie and why?
I love that question. I actually have an answer, and I don't know if he knows it, but he was the reason why I chose to step into this role, and it's a guy in our education team called Dan Bowen, and you may be familiar with him. He's done a lot of the Big Day In conferences. He's really involved in the education space, and I actually started off my career as an intern in the education team. So yeah, Dan Bowen, if you ever get a chance to meet him. Michelle, I don't know if you were thinking of someone like Bill Gates as an answer,
No,
but
I was thinking of someone exactly
Okay.
like Dan Bowen.
Good, good.
Exactly.
Perfect. There's my answer then. Yeah, he's awesome. And he's still in the same role I am, just in the education team. And you can just tell by talking to him, he loves his job, and he loves what he does. So yeah, if you get a chance to cross paths with him, definitely chat him up.
Yeah, he is absolutely awesome, really legendary. I
Yeah.
assumed back in the day, I assumed he must have some sort of glorious, advocate role. But as you say, he is an account technology strategist in the education
right.
team, which
Yeah.
is a great role. And I'll have you explain a bit more as to what that role looks like in a minute.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is one of the most common roles in that there is an account technology strategist for every account. They might not have, an account technology strategist might have multiple accounts, but most accounts will have one that they can go to, unless they're very small accounts, and then they are not as lucky.
That's
But
right.
Nick Nat, who is your favorite Microsoftie? Who's number one in the bomb shelter?
Oh, it's so hard to pick. Can I say 3 names though?
Yeah.
I would say the number one in my list would probably be my manager, who's left the company now, and his name's Andrew Cobb. So Andrew Cobb has been such an amazing person and has given us so much impact within our team. And I personally think he's by far one of the smartest people, but also the kindest people I've met at Microsoft. So he's quite popular within Microsoft, being here for more than 15 or 16 years. And he was able to capture the heart of every team he's worked with, including, our account technology unit, our customer success unit, and most especially the specialist technical unit. And I say this because he doesn't just specialize in one area. If you ask him a question, he would be able to answer you and expand that knowledge with you in one sitting. One of my most memorable experience with him is during my onboarding, where he came into Sydney and he sat down with me and he asked me this question. So, do you know how cloud computing works? And I nodded my head and I thought I knew it. And so he went back to the whole history behind, this is how we used to do it in the past. Hardware talk, then moving to the software talk. And ever since then, I realized that most of the things that we do now and most of the things that we see as part of the emerging technology came from the basics that we've had in the past. So if you're ever, wanting to learn about cloud and you're already within that computer science degree, or, you've learned things around hardware engineering, it wouldn't be too hard to understand the concepts that we have in cloud computing. And even if you weren't from that background, it's not too hard as well to learn the concepts. One thing another person I would also say would be, and no bias here, would be Michelle. So Michelle is one of my mentor and coach within Microsoft. And I came to her because I found out that within my role, Michelle is one of the best person to work with because of her evangelism around Azure, but also the work that she's doing within the education sector. So if you haven't met Michelle before or you don't know her personally, I would recommend to drop a message to her. She's just an amazing person. And I've been following her on LinkedIn for about 1.5 years before I've actually had the courage to ping her on Teams and say, "Hi, Michelle. I know this is sudden, but just wanting to ask whether you have some capacity to take in a mentee. So don't ever be shy. That's one thing. And her mentorship and coaching with me has been amazing because it has helped my public speaking skills. And I feel a lot more confident now working with my customers because of it. And then lastly would be my mentor when I was working as a data and AI consultant, and his name's Omar Alcala. So he was one of the first people when I started my grad program to see my strengths and leverage my weaknesses as well, to use it as an opportunity. Uh, if you're a grad, I know you're feeling what I'm feeling constantly, which is the imposter syndrome, and coming into a hands-on keyword environment with your customers, going to their production environment is so daunting. And I've actually had to build up the courage to actually, you know, um, believe in myself that I was hired because of my skills, not because I was a minority or a woman or, ticking those boxes. So all those three people has helped build up my self-confidence, and they've also helped me be more empathetic across the other people that I work with or live with, because it doesn't really just affect your career, but it also affects your perspective around your personal life as well. So those will be my top three.
Cool. Okay, well, Ilasha, maybe you can tell us, what does a day in the life of an ATS look like?
Yes. Awesome. So basically the role title doesn't do the role justice, but I guess the account part of account technology strategist means that I work with customers or businesses. The technology part means that I'm working with technology, and the strategist part means that we're problem solving, consulting, partnering with these businesses to solve problems using the aforementioned technology. So in my role, I work across the Microsoft technology stack. So like Nick Nat said, Azure is a big part of that, but beyond that as well, Dynamics, Power Platform, Power BI, even Microsoft Office, Teams, not so much Word and Excel, but that's bundled into all of that. And then things like metaverse, sustainability, generative AI. Basically, across that, I work with businesses to identify at a high level where we could play a role in solving their problems. And then I work with our awesome team of specialists like Nick Nat to then go in with the customer and see what we can do to fix that problem. So it's quite a generalist role. And, it's awesome. You asked what a day in the life looks like. It really is different day to day. But the people we're working with at these businesses are generally IT managers or C-level executives. So it's been awesome as an early in career to be able to hone in on those skills and practice my public speaking, practice speaking to executives. But yeah, all in all, it's an awesome role. I work across Sydney and Melbourne, so there's some travel involved. And I find that outside of university, what I wanted to do was work within a sales role, so work with customers, work with technology, and then work with a team or a group of people that I enjoyed working with. And I think in this role, it ticks a lot of those boxes. So yeah, it's awesome, learning a lot. I still feel quite out of my comfort zone, but every day it's just awesome to take on a new challenge.
That's very cool. The thing most I think about the ATS role is that you're not just technical and you're not just relationship. You get to do something of everything,
That's right.
And it's quite strategic as well. But yeah, you also have to, because you might have quite a few accounts, you can't go down to the get into the weeds of everything. You need to be able to liaise with other teams and bring the might of Microsoft with you, I guess, to make yourself successful in your role. So you're not on your own ever, even though you are leading those conversations.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
It's a very glorious role, I think. Nick, tell us about what a day in the life of your role is.
So, as a digital and app innovation specialist, we work really closely with a lot of the internal team, but most especially the account team, such as Ilasha, who's working as an account technology strategist. So usually, Ilasha would come with a high level detail of what the customer has asked, whether that may be a problem statement or their use case requirements. And from there, myself and the team behind me, such as a global black belt, which has deep technical expertise, and a cloud solution architect, would come into a customer meeting in order to understand in a lower level detail of what the problem statement is and those use case requirements that has been provided for ATS. So usually the day looks a lot with customer meetings, which I spend 80% of my time. 20% of the time would be internal alignment. So that way we're making sure that we're not just delivering activities, but actual business outcomes for our customers. Because the end goal is to help accelerate our customers' project into, help accelerate the projects of our customers. So within Microsoft, we have certain programs, initiatives that would help achieve those goals. And one thing I also look after is ensuring that as our customers adopt new technologies or processes and tooling, we actually provide them the opportunity to learn as we deliver those projects. So upskilling is one thing that we always highlight. And even though you're a student, you're actually having that advantage already in the market, because what we recommend to our customers would actually be to sit on those certifications as well, because it will give them that foundational knowledge that they need in order to ensure that the solution that was built for them, either in-house or through a partner, will actually be something that they can maintain and configure on their own moving forward. So hopefully that gave a little bit of insights to what a day looks like.
That's very cool as well. Does no one have any questions that you are brave enough to ask? Because it seems like it's just me asking my favourite questions to my favourite girls. Anyone? Lisa, don't you have something? Are you there? Are you all there? Anyone there?
Yeah, I'm here, but no, I'm just enjoying listening at the moment. I'm trying to stay quiet and, let other people talk this time.
No one else? Any questions about career, life, jobs, how to get into role?
I can tell you one way to get into role. Say that your favorite Microsoft person is Michelle. I was waiting to see which one would say Michelle.
I'm not sure I'm that influential in the hiring decisions. So that may not help, but yeah, probably my coaching helps in other ways, but yeah, my name might not be the key.
No, but you're just a cool person to know.
I hope so. I hope that, yeah, sometimes when I'm, with all of you glorious younger people, it makes me feel like I'm really old. So, it'd be good to remain cool forever. Although as I'm saying that, I realise that cool isn't even what kids are saying these days. What are you two saying? Do you say cool?
Yes,
We
I think
say
that's still
cool, but
right.
we don't say we want to be cool. That's uncool. But we forgive you, Michelle. We forgive you. You're cool.
Oh, okay. Well, yes, we have poor Advaya is saying he's still at work and can't talk at the moment. We appreciate that you are secretly listening to us at work. Excellent. It's educational. This is personal development.
True.
All right, then we will finish with one. Like, what is your top tip for the other people on the call? What is your top tip, your top advice for life, or one thing you could go back and tell your younger self? What would it be? Yeah, Ilasha?
Okay. I think at this stage of your career or education, or this stage of your life, the one thing I wish I did more was just to not be embarrassed to reach out to people, especially, like, I know we're using Michelle in a joking way, but actually taking the time to message people and understand their experiences. It just paves the way for what's possible, and it might give you some inspiration on how you can take the next step of your career. And generally, I found that people are really friendly and really happy to help, especially if you're early in career, because I know that it can be daunting, especially right now. It's something that I'm battling with every day. Like, I keep assessing to myself what I want my next role to be or where I want to be. And it's just really helpful to be able to speak to people who've trotted the same path that you're about to take. So that would be my first big tip. It's just reaching out to people and talking to them and actually taking an interest in how they got to where they are. That's something I'm doing at the moment as well. So I think that doesn't really stop, but I wish I started doing it earlier.
I couldn't agree more with those. I definitely was much shyer earlier in my career. I never used to ask any questions, and I didn't like to ask people for help because I thought it would make me look stupid. And now I realize how stupid I was not to ask people for help and not to ask questions. And I see, Gia asking so many questions in every call, and I just think it makes her look so smart that she's asking the questions. It doesn't make her look dumb at all.
No.
If I had asked more people for help, I think I would have progressed a lot sooner and a lot faster. And people like it. Those people that you ask for help become your friends, your mentors, your coaches, your colleagues. And when they're thinking of, when their bosses say to them, oh, is there anyone you think should be in that role, in that team, in that opportunity, your name is more likely to come to their mind because, you've been talking to them and they've been helping you, they've been working with you on something, and, they're impressed with how quick you learned it, or like maybe you didn't learn it really quick, but because I think I don't learn things very quick, but nevertheless, the conversation that you have while you are learning stuff makes people realize how much more interesting you are than if you never spoke up at all. You don't look interesting at all, and they don't know anything about you. So yeah, that's a great one. What about you, Nick Nat? Best advice?
I think coming from what Ilasha mentioned, it definitely is to always stay curious, because I think that would help you get to where you need to be faster. So sometimes, like in university, they always taught us that asking for help through your classmate to do homework together is a violation or something. But in the actual workspace, it's actually quite completely different. So when you go in the workplace, they would encourage you to leverage existing IP, whether that may be an existing solution to a problem, or reaching out to other peers that might have come across a similar situation. That would help you just gain their learnings, but also be able to experiment on your own. And lastly, don't lose sight of your North Star. I know that the North Star can sometimes change. So whether you already know what you want to be in the next 5 years, or you're still figuring it out, even just having that initial starting point as a North Star is a good place to be in. And having that North Star will also help you build out your career development plan as well. So that career development plan will give you a good picture of who you are, who you're with, and where you want to be. So anything around your, probably like a gap analysis of your strengths and weaknesses, your gap analysis of your network plan where you might not have existing peers with similar interests or mentors or coaches that could provide you some helpful guide or tips on what career path you're taking. Assess those and have that introspective, I don't know if I'm making up a word right now, assessment of yourself, because if you don't know who you are, you don't know your personal brand, you don't know where you need to be, that will be quite challenging in others being able to help you out in your path. So that's it for me. Thank you, Michelle.
Yeah. Perfect. Okay. Any other questions from anyone before we wrap it up?